An hour a day feels like nothing. That's the whole problem. An hour a day for 4 years is 1,460 hours. And 1,460 hours is 60 straight days of your life gone to whatever you fill that hour with. Not 60 days spread out over 4 years so you barely notice it. 60 entire days, back to back. No sleep, no meals, no friends, just gone. You're not tired because you're lazy. You're tired because you've quietly spent 2 full months of your existence on autopilot. Nobody ever sat you down and showed you the actual math on it. And once you see the number, you can't unsee it because it explains a feeling you've had for years without a name. And look, I get the other side of this. I'm not sitting here saying every hour of your day needs to be productive. You worked an 8-hour shift, or sat through classes back to back, or dealt with customers or professors or your family all day. By 6 p.m., your brain is fried and you need to zone out. That's real, and rest is not the enemy here. If you think this video is about to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. and journal and cold plunge, it's not that. Recovery time and leisure time are actually two different things that feel identical in the moment. That difference is the entire mechanism I want to walk you through. So stay with me, because this is where most people stop thinking, and I don't want you to. Here's how the math actually works. 1 hour a day is 7 hours a week, roughly 30 hours a month, 365 hours a year, and 1,460 hours over 4 years. Compare that to a full-time job, which runs about 2,080 hours a year. So 4 years of it's just an hour a day adds up to about 70% of one full working year. Except you got nothing for it. No paycheck, no resume line, no skill you can point to. Compounding usually works in your favor, like interest in a savings account. A small deposit sits there and keeps adding on top of itself until the number looks nothing like what you put in. This is that same structure, except instead of money building up, it's just time disappearing. And disappearing time doesn't compound into anything for you, it just leaves and takes a piece of you with it. And the cruel part of the mechanism is that it never feels like a withdrawal in the moment. A savings account shows you the number going up. Your phone never shows you the 1,460 hours counting down. It just feels like one more video every single day for 4 years straight, until the total shows up somewhere you didn't expect, like a resume with nothing on it, or a skill you keep meaning to learn. Now think about what 1,460 hours actually turns into if you point it somewhere else. Language schools that train diplomats have estimated it takes somewhere around 600 to 750 hours to get functional in a moderately hard language. That means the hour a day you didn't notice losing could have gotten you conversational in a new language twice over, with hundreds of hours left. Or look at it through a coding bootcamp lens. Most intensive programs run somewhere in the 400 to 600 hour range to get someone job ready in a new field. Your stolen 1,460 hours isn't just one bootcamp, it's closer to 3. Now run the same math on something physical instead of mental. Say you spent that same hour a day at the gym instead. Roughly 3 to 4 sessions a week if you're realistic about rest days. That's still around 150 to 200 sessions a year. So 600 to 800 sessions over 4 years. Anyone who has trained consistently will tell you that's not a body transformation anymore. That's a different body. A different resting heart rate, a different relationship with your own energy. Same 1,460 hours, completely different person standing on the other side of them. That's what compounding actually does. It doesn't care what you feed it, it just multiplies whatever you put in, good or empty. And the average person isn't even losing 1 hour. Multiple surveys over the last several years have put average daily phone screen time somewhere around 4 to 5 hours for a lot of people. I'm not going to bet this whole video on one exact figure, but even if you personally think, that's not me, I'm not that bad, do your own math instead of mine. If it's 2 hours a day instead of 1, you're not at 60 days over 4 years, you're at 120, 4 months. If it's 3 hours, you're at 180 days. Half of a calendar year spent with nothing to show for it except being tired. This is where the recovery versus leisure distinction actually matters. They are not the same mechanism, even though they feel like the same thing at 11 p.m. Recovery is your body and brain actually restoring themselves. Lower heart rate, lower cortisol, your attention resetting so you can focus again tomorrow. Leisure that actually works, hanging out with people, being outside, doing something with your hands does that. But an hour of scrolling doesn't reset you the same way. Your brain is still processing input the entire time, just faster and shallower, jumping between 15 unrelated things a minute. You come out of it not calm, but scattered, still holding the residue of everything you just watched. And then, you still need actual recovery on top of it. Except now you've spent the hour you had for that. So you go to bed tired in a way that has nothing to do with how hard your day was. It has everything to do with never getting the recovery you thought you were giving yourself. So picture two people at 22, same job offer, same starting paycheck, same apartment, same alarm going off at 7 a.m. One of them fills that dead hour after work with whatever the algorithm serves up. The other one fills it with something that has a direction, even something small like walking or reading or messaging an old friend back. At day one, they look identical. Nobody could tell them apart. They'd both tell you they're just tired and just relaxing. At year one, they still basically look identical. Maybe one of them mentions they picked up a hobby, no big deal. Still, the same two people at the same job making the same money. But run it to year 4, 1,460 hours later, and the gap isn't small anymore. One of them has a body of evidence, a habit, a skill, a stack of proof they can point to when someone asks what they did with their 20s. The other one has 4 years of, yeah, I don't really know where the time went. That sentence is the entire mechanism showing up in real speech, out loud, at a dinner table. Same 24 hours a day, same 8-hour shift, same tired legs at 6 p.m. The only difference was where the one leftover hour went, every single day. Neither of them noticed it happening in real time, because nobody rings a bell when hour 1000 passes. Now take a third person and run a different version of the same math. This doesn't only apply to hobbies. Say instead of scrolling, this person spent that hour a day on their actual finances, moving $20 into an index fund and reading for 10 minutes about how it works. $20 a day is about $140 a week, roughly $600 a month, $7,300 a year, and close to $29,000 over 4 years before any growth at all. Add in an average market return, and you're not looking at $29,000 anymore. You're looking at something meaningfully higher, sitting there compounding the entire time you slept. That's the same 1,460 hours as the language example and the gym example, just aimed at a bank account instead of a body or a brain. The point isn't that you need to become a stock picker. The point is that 1,460 hours is enough raw material to build a second language, a different body, a real financial cushion, or all three stacked on top of each other if you split the hour up. The raw material was never the problem. Where it went was the entire problem. This is why it feels so personal once you actually sit with it. Nobody did this to you on purpose. There's no villain sitting in your room forcing your thumb to move. You didn't choose exhaustion. You chose just for tonight, 1,460 times in a row. And each individual choice was completely reasonable in isolation. That's what makes it worse, not better. If it were one bad decision, you could fix it in an afternoon and move on. But it's not a decision at all most days. It's a reflex. Phone up before your brain even asks permission. Thumb moving before you've registered you picked the thing up. Reflexes don't feel like math. They feel like nothing. They feel like the absence of a choice rather than the presence of one. So when you finally do the arithmetic and see 60 days, or 120, or half a year sitting there with nothing attached to it, it doesn't feel abstract. It feels like someone read your diary out loud in front of you and there was nothing written in it. And that feeling isn't guilt exactly, it's closer to grief, because you can't get the 1,460 hours back no matter how clearly you understand the mechanism now. The math only works going forward. It doesn't refund anything. Here's the part nobody actually says out loud. It's not that scrolling is evil or that rest is wrong. I already told you rest isn't the enemy here. It's that the thing stealing your hour was never designed to give anything back to you. A gym gives you a sore body that turns into a strong one over 600 to 800 sessions. A language app gives you 750 hours that turn into a second language you'll have for the rest of your life. The apps taking your evening hour are built by people whose entire salary depends on that hour not turning into anything for you. Because if it turned into something, you'd stop opening it. And their whole business model needs you to keep opening it. You're not weak for losing to that. You're losing to something engineered by teams of people with more data on your attention span than you have on yourself, tested on hundreds of millions of users before it ever reached your phone. What I actually did wasn't some extreme overhaul. I know myself, and I know a full ban lasts about 4 days before it quietly collapses back into old habits. I just picked 1 hour, the same hour every day, and gave it a job before my phone could give it one instead. Some days that job is small, 20 minutes of Spanish and a walk. It doesn't have to be impressive, it just has to compound in a direction instead of nowhere. Because an hour spent badly toward a goal still beats an hour spent perfectly toward nothing. That's the actual choice sitting in front of you every evening. Not productive versus lazy, it's compounding versus disappearing. Every hour is going to compound into something whether you aim it or not. The only question left is whether you're the one doing the aiming. 1,460 hours is coming either way, whether you track it or not, whether you feel it passing or not. 4 years are going to pass whether you notice the hour or not. The only thing left to decide, the only variable you actually control, is what you want standing on the other side of it when it finally does.